Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this ring. Just a very basic, simple ring using square and half round wires and using a small little stone. Mine is probably like 4 or 5 millimeters. It's very small. It's a tiny little welo opal. And throughout this video, I keep saying brass wire, but it's actually bronze wire. So I just want to give you a heads up. This is bronze wire from Rio Grande, but feel free to use other wire types. I'm just trying a little something different since pretty much everything I make videos on is copper. So here is this little ring, and if you want to see how I made it, just keep watching. So for this project, I'm going to be using brass wire. This is square, dead soft brass wire. As you can tell, it's just a little more golden looking than the copper. And it's harder to work with. It's a little bit more firm. So that's why I'm using 21 gauge. But if you want to use copper, I would probably recommend using 20 gauge. And then here is my brass half round wire. And both of these wires, the square and the half round, I got at Rio Grande. And unfortunately, the smallest they had is 18 gauge for the half round, which is kind of hard to work with, especially because it's firmer than copper. So if you're doing copper, I'd recommend sticking to the 22 that I normally use for, you know, my pendants and such. But if you don't have a choice, like in this case, I'm going to use 18. But feel free to, you know, use a different metal. I just wanted to mix things up since I always make everything in copper and everything in same gauge wires. So I'm leaving myself a few inches here. So basically I'm grabbing my wire, not right in the middle, but I'm leaving myself like this much middle because this is where I'm gonna wrap the half round wire around, and that's gonna be the ring band, and these ends we're gonna use to secure the ring. So I'm just wrapping like this, and then once you get that initial little wrap, it's easier to just turn the wires as you guide the half round wire around them. And then periodically, just want to go in there with your pliers and just kind of squish it a little bit. Make it nice and flat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for quite a while, and then I'm going to measure around my ring mandrel here. Probably about a 7, size 7 I want to make. So once I have enough of this to go around my mandrel here, I will come back and show you what to do next. The stone I'm going to be using is this itty bitty little opal. It's super tiny. It's probably like 4 millimeters tall, or maybe 5 millimeters tall. So this is a tiny stone ring. I'll try to make another tutorial for a little bit a bigger stone, but because I'm only using 2 base wires in this ring, it really is best to use a really small stone, or it's going to be difficult to secure. All right, so once you've made your band, and I bent mine around my ring mandrel just to give it a shape. This is probably going to be 7.5 or maybe an 8. You want to make it just slightly larger than you want, because once you use these wires to secure the stone, they're going to go inside and like wrap around the band, and it's going to make the ring a little bit smaller. So our initial little tail end, I trimmed it off. You can see the tiniest little bit here. So I'm taking that little end and I'm squishing it down, and I'm doing it so that it's facing us, so that it's not inside of the ring band where I can like scratch the finger, but it's here on the outside. Okay, so now this other tail end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up, and brass tends to like bounce back a little bit. You bend it and then it unbends back. So I'm going to line it up like this. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to wrap it around. You might need to use your pliers as you wrap, just because this 18 gauge does not bend very easily, but I'm gonna wrap it around all 4 wires just to connect them. And this is gonna be a little base for your stone to sit on. So maybe just 3 or 4 times is adequate, especially because this wire is so wide. And then you're just gonna trim it and squish that down. What you wanna do now is you wanna pull to connect so that there isn't like a gap, so that this wrap connects to the other wrap, you know what I mean? And then so it doesn't slide out of place, I'm just gonna raise these wires up just a little bit like this. Okay, here's what that looks like. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 1 wire. So if you are looking at it like this, and this is the top wire and this is the bottom, I'm gonna do the bottom, but feel free to do the other one or not at all, because this is just an optional, just for looks thing, but I'm gonna twist the wire. So I'm just gonna grab it with my pliers. I'm just gonna twist because it's square wire. It's gonna have this twisted look. It's just gonna add a little interest. And if you really wanted to spruce up this ring, you could wrap half round wire around this, or even just a regular round wire around it. You can do some kind of weaving pattern, but that's better if you have more than just 2 wires. Once you have several, then you can do all kinds of weaving patterns and make your ring really fancy. Okay, so now I'm gonna put the wires back together because I had separated them out for the purposes of twisting. Now this next part is slightly tricky because this tiny itty bitty little stone really likes to not stay put. So you want to put it right there in that little base that you made. Kind of hold it with your fingers. And this will take some practice, but we're gonna take 2 wires and bend them around your tiny stone, and the stone keeps like moving and slipping around as you're trying to do this. But we're gonna bend them this way, and then the other set of wires are gonna bend the other way. So my stone kind of changed positions here. I'm trying to rearrange it. There we go. So, I'm sorry, I'm blocking everything with my fingers, but if I let go, it's just all gonna fall out. Here's what it looks like. And basically, you just want to work on tightening that up so that your stone kind of gets trapped in there. Mine is not trapped yet. That's why I can't really show you too well. It's gonna fall right out. I use my pliers to try and get these wires a little tighter because they are not as bendable since they're brass. Here, it's not falling out right now, so I can kind of show you. See what I'm doing? Kind of bending around and around. So after it goes kind of up and around your stone, you want to bring it all the way down. So let's do that on both sides. And this side is all the way up, I guess. So like that. And now you're gonna actually take that and push it into the center of the band. So push it through until it pops out the other side. And then I'm gonna bring it down like that. Now it's secured because it's been wrapped around the band, and you can kind of squish it down with your pliers for a little extra. security there, and the same thing on this side as well. Make sure your stone, before you do this, that your stone is secure. You don't need to make this little window smaller that the stone is peeking through. Your stone is secure, because once you do this, these wires are kind of set. Okay, so just squishing that down a little bit again with my pliers. All right, so here is what our ring looks like so far. Here's what it looks like from the side, and then the front, and then the other side. So now we have 2 wires that we need to finish off. And feel free to get creative and do, you know, different sort of things with them, but I am just gonna do your basic little loops. So I'm gonna trim, start with the twisted wire. Trim that short so that I can make just a little tiny loop with that. I'm gonna come back in with round nose pliers to do that. And then the next wire, the non-twisted wire, I'm gonna cut that a little bit longer. Here's what my ring looks like. All right, so here's my round nose pliers. Grabbing this. And on the other side. I'm actually going to use my regular pliers to close up that loop. And I'm just going to press it down. And actually what I'm going to do with these longer pieces of wire, I was initially going to make another loop, but then I changed my mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them short. We'll do one at a time. So this one first. Let me show you how I cut it nice and short. See that little end of it there? So that when I squish that down, I can almost tuck that like right into there. It's not like sticking out, you know what I mean? It's like tucked away in here. So we kind of just got rid of that little end. And same thing here. So I'm just gonna lift it up just gently and trim it. And then I'm going to take that little end, almost like pushing it, I don't know how well you can see, in there. And then squishing it down flat. And then you might have to fix your little loop if it got moved out of place. And check on your stone. My stone is not going anywhere. See this little gap here where you can really see the stone? So I'm going to take my pliers and just push this wire down just gently. If you push it too much, you might make the stone pop out. So you don't want to push it too much. You still want a little sliver of the stone showing, so you know that the wire's on the side of it, trapping it nicely. So here we go. Here is my finished ring. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.